The Trump-Putin summit in Alaska was supposed to be a diplomatic breakthrough, a bold attempt to end the devastating war in Ukraine. But instead of a triumph, it ended in disappointment. President Donald Trump, despite keeping expectations low, had hoped to secure at least a ceasefire, a glimmer of hope for peace. "I won't be happy if I walk away without some form of a ceasefire," he confessed to Fox News. Yet, as he boarded Air Force One back to Washington, D.C., it was clear he hadn't achieved his goal. Not only did he fail to secure the immediate, unconditional ceasefire he desired, but he also faced harsh criticism from foreign policy experts who accused him of legitimizing Putin's regime without gaining anything in return. During their 12-minute joint appearance, Trump's tone was unusually somber. While he claimed extremely productive discussions and agreement on many points, he admitted there wasn't enough common ground to outline even a preliminary deal. "There are just a very few issues left," he said. "One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there." And this is the part most people miss. That most significant issue was, of course, Ukraine, the very reason for the summit. For anyone following the 3.5-year conflict, this outcome isn't surprising. Trump may overestimate his ability to broker peace, but in this case, the real power lies with Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. These two leaders not only harbor deep animosity toward each other, but also hold irreconcilable goals. Trump hoped his meeting with Putin would either move the Russian leader toward compromise or at least initiate a high-level diplomatic process. While the Alaska summit sparked intense debate, Trump wasn't wrong to extend the invitation. After all, US presidents have engaged with despots before, and they will again. But here's where it gets controversial. The real problem isn't Trump's red carpet greeting for Putin. It's Putin's unwavering commitment to war. Putin still believes he can achieve more through continued fighting than through negotiations, prioritizing victory in Ukraine over improved US-Russia relations. For those hoping for a diplomatic settlement, this is a major hurdle. With the battlefield shifting in Russia's favor, despite heavy Russian casualties, Putin has little incentive to negotiate. Meanwhile, Ukraine faces mounting manpower challenges and a population increasingly weary of war, even if it means ceding territory. Putin's recent proposal to Trump illustrates this stark reality. He offered a ceasefire in Zaporizhia and Kherson if Ukraine withdrew from the entire Donbas region, 30% of which it still controls. Zelensky would never accept such terms, and Putin knows it. So what's next for Trump? He has several options. One is to persist diplomatically, hoping time and creativity will eventually yield a breakthrough. Zelensky and European leaders are set to meet with Trump at the White House for a debrief, and the administration may push for a bilateral summit to keep the process alive. Another option is to double down on the Biden administration's strategy of sanctions and military aid to Ukraine, assuming Putin will eventually seek peace on Kyiv's terms. However, this approach has already failed to shift Putin's stance. If anything, it's hardened his resolve. Why revisit a failed strategy? A third, less painful option for the US would be to hand over the Ukraine issue entirely to the Europeans, who have a greater stake in the outcome. European governments are already providing substantial financial and military aid to Ukraine, and Washington is moving in this direction, as seen in Trump's July decision to sell US weapons to Europe for transfer to Ukraine. Regardless of the path chosen, the Alaska summit made one thing clear. It's Putin and Zelensky who are driving this conflict, not Trump. The war's end will depend on the realities on the ground, not individual deal-making skills. For any settlement to hold, both sides must conclude that a good enough peace is better than more war. Right now, that conclusion seems distant. What do you think? Is Trump's diplomatic approach the right way forward, or should the US step back and let Europe take the lead? And is there any realistic path to peace while Putin remains committed to war? Let's discuss in the comments.